हरे कृष्ण ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद्भागवतम in story form. Chapter 139. The kidnapping of Subhadra and Lord Krishna's visiting Shrutadeva and Bahulasva. Canto 10. Once, while traveling on pilgrimage, Arjuna came to Prabhasa. There he heard that Lord Balrama was negotiating the marriage of Subhadra, the daughter of his maternal uncle Vasudeva. Balrama intended that Subhadra marry Duryodhana, although Krishna and Vasudeva were not in agreement. Arjuna wished to marry Subhadra, and while thinking about her, he became more and more captivated by the idea. Finally, after devising a plan, Arjuna dressed like a Vaishnava sannyasi with Tridanda in hand and went to Dwarka to spend the 4 months of the rainy season. The residents of Dwarka did not recognize Arjuna, and they offered him all respect and hospitality. One day, Balrama invited Arjuna to come to his home, and the Lord fed him sumptuously. While eating, however, Arjuna kept looking at Subhadra, who was very enchanting, and his eyes brightened by attraction for her. At this time, Arjuna made up his mind to somehow or other obtain Subhadra as his wife, and this desire greatly agitated his mind. Arjuna was very attractive to women, and as soon as Subhadra saw him, she decided to accept only him as her husband. While smiling bashfully, beautiful Subhadra would repeatedly glance at Arjuna out of the corner of her eyes. Therefore, Arjuna's mind became absorbed in Subhadra 24 hours a day so that he did not have a moment's peace. One day thereafter, Subhadra rode out of the palace on a chariot to attend a festival at a temple. With the permission of Vasudeva and Devaki as well as Lord Krishna, Arjuna took this opportunity to kidnap her. After getting up on Subhadra's chariot, Arjuna dispersed the guards that tried to stop him as her relatives cried out in alarm. When Balrama learned that the so-called sannyasi was Arjuna and that he had kidnapped Subhadra, he became furious. Lord Krishna and other family members fell at Balrama's lotus feet, asking him, asking him to forgive Arjuna. Finally, when Balrama became convinced that Subhadra was actually attached to Arjuna, he became pleased. With the matter thus settled, Balrama sent a large dowry to his sister, consisting of elephants, chariots, horses, and male and female servants. In Mithila, the capital of Videha, there lived two devotees, the Brahmana Srutadeva and the king Bahulasva. Although he was a householder, the Brahmana would not endeavor much much to earn money, and by the will of Providence he would receive the bare necessities and nothing more. He was satisfied by rendering unalloyed devotional service to Lord Krishna, and he was peaceful, learned, and without desires for sense gratification. The ruler of the kingdom was a similarly qualified devotee, and he was not anxious to extend his kingdom simply for personal aggrandizement. One day, being pleased with both devotees, Lord Krishna set out on his chariot for the kingdom of Videha, accompanied by a group of sages. Among them were Narada, Vyasa, Parasurama, Vyaspati, Atri, Kanva, Maitreya, and Sukadeva Goswami. As they passed through the towns and villages while going, the people came forward to worship Lord Krishna with their offerings. While gazing at Krishna's face, these men and women appeared to be drinking nectar through their eyes, and by the Lord's merciful glances, their ignorance due to conditional life became dissipated. In some places, the demigods appeared disguised as human beings, and their glorification of the Lord purified all directions. In this way, Lord Krishna gradually reached the kingdom of Videha, and upon hearing the news of his arrival, the inhabitants came to greet him with offerings in their hands. When the people actually saw Lord Krishna along with the sages, their hearts and faces blossomed in transcendental happiness. Knowing that Lord Krishna had come just to favor them, King Bahulasva and Srutadeva came and fell at his lotus feet. With folded hands, Bahulasva and Srutadeva invited Sri Krishna and the sages to come to their houses, and so, just to please them, the Lord accepted both invitations. Krishna expanded himself so that he could simultaneously go with both devotees, although neither could understand that the Lord also accompanied the other. When King Bahulaswa, a descendant of Maharaja Janaka, saw Lord Krishna and all the sages present in his home, he was very astonished and grateful. Desiring to receive his guests in the best possible manner, the king seated them all comfortably and then washed their feet with loving devotion. With tears in his eyes, Bholaswa sprinkled the water that had washed their feet over his head and the heads of his family members. After this, the king worshipped the Lord and the sages with offerings of sandalwood paste, lamps, incense, and flower garlands. He then gave them cows, land, clothing, and ornaments in charity. And at last, he fed his guests sumptuously. After everyone had eaten to their full satisfaction and was seated at ease, Maharaja Bahulaswa approached Lord Krishna, catching hold of his lotus feet. The king placed them upon his lap. While massaging the Lord's lotus feet, the king spoke in a very sweet voice as follows: O Almighty Lord, you are the soul of all created beings and their witness, and now you are giving your audience to us, who constantly meditate upon your lotus feet. You have said, neither Ananta, the goddesses of fortune, nor Brahma is dearer to me than my unalloyed devotee. Just to prove your words to be true, you have appeared in my house. What person who knows the truth would abandon your lotus feet when you are ready to give your very self to saintly devotees who call nothing their own? Please stay just a few min- Please stay just a few days in my house along with these brahmanas, and with the dust of your lotus feet sanctify this dynasty of Nimi. In response, Krishna agreed to stay for some time, just to bestow good fortune upon the residents of Mithila. Meanwhile, the Brahmana Sutadeva received Lord Krishna and the sages with the same enthusiasm shown by the king. Being poor, Sutadeva could only offer straw mats made of pusa grass, wooden planks, and mattresses. And while welcoming his guests, he seated them upon these as comfortably as possible. Being so overwhelmed with joy, Sudadeva began to dance in ecstasy, having his upper garment about. Sudadeva and his wife then washed the feet of their guests, and after doing so, they sprinkled the water upon their heads. At this time, they forgot themselves, being merged in transcendental happiness and feeling as if all their desires had been fulfilled. Then, according to his capacity, Sudadeva offered fruit, tulasi leaves, incense, lotus flowers, and other inexpensive items which Lord Krishna and his associates happily accepted. Shrutadeva then offered his guests the simple food his wife had prepared, such as rice and dal, and Lord Krishna and the sages were very pleased to eat because it was cooked and offered with devotional love. While serving his guests, Shrutadeva thought, how is it that I, who am fallen into the blind well of family life, have been able to meet Lord Kṛṣṇa as well as these great Brahmanas. After Lord Kṛṣṇa and the sages had finished eating and were sitting comfortably, Srutadeva came and sat nearby, along with his family members, to render further service. Then, while touching Krishna's lotus feet, Srutadeva took the opportunity to offer his prayers as follows. My Lord, you are like a sleeping man who creates a separate world in his imagination and then enters that dream world, seeing himself within it. You reveal yourself within the hearts of those persons of pure consciousness who always hear about you, speak about you, and converse with one another about you. Even though you are also within the hearts of those whose minds are disturbed by their entanglement in material activities. You remain very far from them. You simultaneously appear in your spiritual form for your devotees and as the form of this creation to obstruct the vision of non devotees. My Lord, you are the Supreme Soul and we are your servants. How shall we serve you? Lord Krishna was very pleased with Srutadeva's prayers. Catching his hand, the Lord replied, My dear Brahmana, you should know that these great sages have come here just to bless you as my representatives. They travel throughout the world as bona fide spiritual masters just to purify it. By worshipping the demigods and traveling to holy places of pilgrimage, one can gradually become purified. But the same result can immediately be achieved by receiving the glance of an exalted devotee. To be born as a Brahmana is the best position in this world, and such a person becomes even more qualified when he acquires learning and performs austerities. And so, what to speak of devotion to me? Within a learned Brahmana is all the Vedas, just as all the demigods are situated within me. Being ignorant of this truth, foolish persons neglect a learned Brahmana while at the same time considering as worshipable only such as obvious manifestation as my deity form. Therefore, you should worship these Brahmana sages with the same faith you have in me. If you do so, you will be worshipping me directly. If you do so, you will be worshipping me directly. If, however, one tries to worship me without worshipping my devotees, I will never accept his offerings, no matter how opulent they may be. After being so instructed, Srutadeva worshipped the Lord and the sages with single-minded devotion, and King Bahulasva did the same. Thus, both Srutadeva and the king attained the supreme goal of being transferred to the spiritual world. After staying with these two devotees for some time, Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka. Hare Krishna.